Hello, and welcome to Everyday Simple Somatics, a podcast dedicated to helping you find healing through your body's natural wisdom. I'm Dr. Christine Baker, and I'll be your host. So I'm hoping that this didn't happen for any of you during the Thanksgiving week, but if you did by any chance happen to have a difficult conversation with a friend or a family member, I want to offer you a somatic practice this week to help you kind of release any leftover tension or intensity that might be stuck in your body after that conversation or argument. I think some of the common things that we experience after an intense conversation are, that heart still racing, maybe the jaw is clenched, maybe your whole body feels pretty activated and jittery, almost like it's ready for battle or ready to run away. Maybe you did run away. Maybe you actually left the room. Maybe you set a boundary, but it still feels like, even days later, that your nervous system is stuck in this state of high activation. It's almost like your body didn't get the memo that the danger has passed. So if after seeing the title of this podcast, you are still listening to it, my guess is that even in the days following Thanksgiving, there's a good chance you're feeling some of this stuff right now. Holiday gatherings tend to have this magical way of bringing up some of those old patterns, triggering family dynamics, and sometimes even lead us into these conversations that leave us feeling pretty rattled or upset, even hours or days afterwards. And here's the really great thing. When we enter into a hard conversation or an argument, our nervous system is activated into fight, flight, or freeze. And what a gift that we have a nervous system to help take care of us in those hard moments. In the aftermath of that, once we're home, once we're in safety, now comes the intentional work of helping our nervous system understand that it is safe enough to come back. And so today we're going to talk about a sequence that you can do to help settle, kind of help complete that stress cycle and return to a state of regulation after the conflict. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Dr. Christine Baker. I am a licensed professional counselor with 13 years of experience working in trauma recovery. I'm also a somatic experiencing practitioner, which just means I'm a person that believes strongly that mental health healing comes through addressing the stuck places in the body, specifically the nervous system. Hence the creation of this podcast. My hope is that all of these short episodes with symptom-specific titles kind of allow you to scan through, pick the ones that apply to you, and take that somatic practice and create a rhythm of regulation in your life to help support you on your healing journey. And so if that resonates with you, I'd love to invite you to like and subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you're currently watching or listening. All of those little clicks really do help other people find us, and I so appreciate it. So let's start by talking about the science for a second. What is actually happening in your body after a conflict? So Dr. Stephen Porges, who we talk about a lot on this podcast through his polyvagal theory, teaches us that when we perceive threat and conflict, emotional conflict, particularly if it's like with someone from our family of origin or those younger years, absolutely registers as a threat to our nervous system. So we move out of that ventral vagal state, which is the place in our nervous system where we feel really calm and connected to other people. It's our social engagement state. And so it moves out of that and into either a sympathetic activation, which would be more of that fight and flight, or dorsal shutdown, which is more freeze and collapse. During the actual conflict, your body is flooded with stress hormones. So like cortisol, adrenaline, your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes really shallow. Blood flow actually moves away from your digestive system into the large muscle groups. So it's kind of, again, preparing your body to fight or run. We don't need to be using the restroom if we're being chased by a bear, right? And so we don't put energy into digestion. We put energy into these, into our quads and into our arms to be able to either run or punch, which if you think about it is a pretty big problem when we think about we just came off of a holiday that is very focused on food and digestion, right? And here's the deal, like our body responding that way, brilliant survival physiology. But here's the problem. In modern conflict, especially family conflict, we rarely get to complete these stress cycles. Dr. Peter Levine talks about animals in the wild will literally shake off stress. If you've seen those videos of like an animal being chased by a predator, they play dead for a while, the predator leaves, then the animal gets up and goes, "Ooh," and kind of like shakes it off, right? They're shaking off that like excess energy in their nervous system. So that shaking is their nervous system discharging all of that activation. But as humans, especially those socialized to be polite and keep the peace, especially at the dinner table, right? Like we don't do that. We just stuff it down. We go back to our salad. We ask the person to pass the rolls. We smile. We pretend everything's fine. And so then all of that activation just gets stuck in our body. And for many of us over the Thanksgiving week, it wasn't just one interaction, right? Like there have been a number of interactions where it felt like that activation had to be stuffed. And when we don't complete those stress cycles and the energy gets trapped, your body is left feeling still activated even hours after the conflict is over because your body actually doesn't know that you're not still under that same threat. It didn't get to complete its stress cycle. So now your body is believing, oh, I'm still in that tense conversation, right? So your body's doing the right thing. We just have to help our body realize we're not still in that conflict or difficult conversation. One of my students in the Somatic Wellness Collective shared something with me that I think totally applies to this conversation. She was talking about how she had this really tough conversation with her sister, and they were like at a family gathering, like a beach trip or something like this. And so they still had to spend all this time together. And after that tough conversation, the entire next day, she felt like everything was too much. It was almost like sensory overload. So like having to make a decision about breakfast was too much. Her kids' needs were too much. Noises were too much. She couldn't like focus on anything. And she had this realization that, after that conversation, she had tried to tell herself, okay, that's done. Like I said what I could say. Let's move on, kind of thing. But she didn't give her body a chance to move on. And so once she had that realization, she did some of the somatic practices that we're going to talk about today. And she was able to come back into her window of tolerance, back into that place where she has capacity for breakfast decisions and kids' needs and noises and all of that. So I think that was a perfect example of like what we're talking about here. So let's get into it. Let's talk about this settling sequence. So this is a practice that combines several somatic techniques to help your nervous system complete that stress cycle and return to your window of tolerance into more regulation. And so like I said, you can do this right after a conflict or even hours or days later if you're still noticing the effects of that. And so the first step is I want you to just acknowledge to yourself what happened, right? So I experienced something activating. My body went into a protection mode, and that makes sense. And don't try to talk yourself out of how you're feeling. Don't minimize it. Don't shame yourself. Just name it. Your nervous system needs to know that you're paying attention to what it's experiencing. So that's step one. Name what you experienced. Step two is going to be shake it out. And so we're going to do this just like a dog who just got out of a bath and like shakes off the water, or after you've just seen something creepy or disgusting in a movie and you go, "Ooh." I want you to literally shake your body. And I know it might feel really silly, but just trust me on this. This is just such a great discharge activity, and it makes a huge difference to how your body metabolizes what happens. Okay. So you can start with something simple like just your hands. So you can just kind of shake them out like this, almost like you're shaking water off your fingers. Then you can maybe add your arms, shoulders. And if you're standing, you may want to start kind of bouncing a little on your feet. So you're kind of letting your whole body get involved in this shake. And if you're somewhere, where you can just really go for it, you can shake your hips, you can shake your shoulders, you can shake your head gently. You could even make sounds if it feels right. So you could go, ugh, like kind of like letting out that aggression or whatever noise feels right to you. So like I said, that shaking is literally helping your nervous system discharge the stuck activation. So ultimately, you're helping your body complete what it wanted to do during the conflict, but couldn't. And if it feels okay, I'd love to invite you to do this for a minute, 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. And you'll know when you're done. Like you'll have this feeling inside that like, it's okay. I feel better. I feel like there's a shift. Maybe there's a sigh, maybe there's a yawn, maybe there's just a sense inside that it's time to stop. And then this part's super important, y'all. After you've done the shaking, I want you to stand still, feel your feet on the ground, really feel them kind of press into the floor, maybe even stomp a few times just to get that feeling of the earth beneath you. Place your hands on your belly or your heart, whatever feels best, and then start to just take some slow breaths. So we're just doing a little bit of grounding after we've done that release of the activation. This is super important because this is where our body gets to integrate what happened. That's something that when I was going through my SE training, they talked about a lot is like, don't forget the time to integrate the work. So often people will do a hard piece of trauma work and then jump immediately into the next without slowing down enough for the body to catch up and go, oh, we just did that, So that's what this moment is for. Feet on the ground, hands on your core, some slow breaths, maybe making that exhale a little longer than the inhale. We're just telling our nervous system it's safe to slow down. And if you'd like, you could add some words here. That's over now. I'm home now. I'm safe. Or simply just, I'm okay. I'm okay. And then once you feel like you've got the floor under you, you're kind of settled a little, I want you to start to orient to your current environment. Slowly turn your head and look. Allow your eyes to move around. Notice things that look neutral or pleasant. Maybe notice some light and shadow in your space or a certain texture that looks really pretty, or even a photo of someone you love. And then name what you see, either out loud or in your mind. I see the blue sky. I see the tree moving in the breeze. Kind of seeing it, noticing it, and speaking it really brings you into this present moment rather than being stuck in that past conflict. And then finally, I want to invite you to just start to bring in a little bit of gentle movement. And I'd love for this to be like soothing in some way. So like a great one I do a lot is just like some swaying side to side. I think this could be because I'm a mom, that's such a thing that like moms do when they're holding babies. They just like sway side to side. And now, even though my kids are so much bigger, I still find myself doing it sometimes. You may even like give yourself a little self hug, hand on either arm, maybe even like some little gentle, comforting strokes up and down your arms, maybe even a slow walk around the room or outside. The key here is to be really gentle and soothing. We're not trying to like exercise away the stress. We're just trying to tell our body through movement, it's okay, we can settle, and we're not frozen. We can move, right? And so you may even notice, like I even noticed right now, my stomach growled, which is great. That's such a sign of like my parasympathetic coming online, just that like rest and digest system. So just a reminder, there's like 5 pieces to this, right? So the first piece is we're going to acknowledge what happened. The second piece is we're going to shake it out. The third piece is we're going to ground through our feet, maybe supporting the core, maybe noticing some breath there. The fourth step is we're going to orient to safety. And then the fifth step is to start to bring in that movement again in a gentle, kind of soothing way. So again, I think this could be super helpful to use right after the conflict if you can. Excuse yourself to the restroom. This wouldn't take super long to do. Or you could wait until later on that day or later on that week if you're still noticing some of that activation. And here's the thing that's so cool to me about this, y'all, is you can do this sequence. You can support your nervous system to come back to regulation, even if the conflict wasn't resolved in the traditional sense. That blows my mind and feels like such a gift. Your nervous system doesn't need the other person to apologize or the situation to be fixed in order for it to receive some resource. You can help your body return to regulation regardless of what happened externally. And even in me saying that, I think it's clear the goal isn't to erase what happened or be over it emotionally. The goal is to simply help your body move out of that activated state so that you can think clearly, so that you can sleep, so that you can digest your food correctly, so that you don't have to carry all of that tension into every other interaction, right? Now, that's not to say that there won't still be pain and hurt as a result of a conflict with someone that you care about. I just think that doing something like this helps grow your nervous system's capacity to be able to hold that hurt. Because the reality is, conflict is a part of being human. The question isn't, are we going to experience conflict? The question here is, do we have the tools to support our nervous system after that conflict? And now you do. And so next week, we're going to kind of continue this series of episodes on things that might be supportive during the holidays. And we're going to talk about, what do I do somatically if my family does not understand the healing journey that I'm on, or maybe my therapy journey or something like this? How do I navigate those dynamics without losing myself? And so I'm going to give you some somatic tools for staying grounded in your truth, even when others just don't get it. So thank you so much for being here today. I know the holidays can bring up a lot. I really hope that some of these episodes we're going to release during December can be supportive, just to help you find your way back to yourself after some of those hard moments. Because remember, your body has innate wisdom. All we have to do is learn how to listen to it. And that's what I'm here for. I'll see you next time.